Welcome back to the Hot Flash Diaries. This is episode number 15 and the last episode of season 1. I am so excited to have Lexis Hudson and Madison Hurst, who are my esteemed colleagues and medical estheticians extraordinaire from Bonita Medical Aesthetics, which is our clinic, here for my final episode of the season. We're going to chat about all things skincare and skin health when it comes to middle-aged life and sort of what to expect. So thank you so much, Maddie and Lex, for joining us.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here for the last episode of season 1.
I know. I saved the best for last.
It's great.
Amazing. Well, can you tell our audience a little bit more about your background and your experience with working with women who are sort of midlife?
Mm-hmm. You want to go?
Sure. I'm Madison. I've been a medical esthetician now for 7-8 years. Around there, I've worked in a few clinics and I've really specialized in skin health and making people feel amazing in their skin. Absolutely love this industry. So happy to be here and make people feel fantastic. I would say I deal with women going through perimenopause, menopause, different skin changes quite often. And we love to see it. We love to work through issues. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm Lexis. I have been a medical esthetician since 2019. I've also worked in a few clinics, and I really got into the industry specifically because I had a lot of skin concerns. So I was dealing with hormonal acne, which then turned into this dark pigmentation. I was later then diagnosed with PCOS. So I have just been trying to work through that myself. And that's kind of when I fell in love with everything. And honestly, I see people, again, perimenopause, menopause, PCOS, all the hormonal kind of skin conditions in clinic all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of our demographic is women who are, in their 40s and 50s and even 60s. So I would say we're pretty expert when it comes to treating women in this phase, right?
Absolutely.
So maybe we should start off by chatting about sort of that physiological change that happens in our skin during perimenopause and menopause. So what is the most common skin changes that you observe in clients who are in this phase?
For me personally, I feel like we see a lot of dryness and dehydration because as we start to enter this new phase, skin is going to lose its natural moisture barrier, and that is caused by decreased estrogen, increased sensitivity. They may have not been always as sensitive, but now they're like, sometimes my skin just doesn't like this product that I've been using for so long. And that could be for a number of different reasons, as well as like environmental factors.
Yeah, like the skin sensitivity, definitely with thinning skin, it increases huge. And like you said, we see a lot of dryness, dehydration, or even like that little bit of flakiness.
Yeah, lots like loss of firmness and elasticity. You may start to notice those jowls and crepey skin starting to develop and becoming more pronounced, and then just dullness and uneven texture. And we may notice more hormonal skin conditions coming up as our hormones are kind of on this like wave.
Yeah.
So things like rosacea or melasma.
Yeah. It starts to come
that's so
with it.
true. Well, it's interesting because, I don't think we really truly appreciate just how much estrogen, progesterone, all of our female and male sex hormones are just our sex hormones, because we all have, even men have, estrogen and progesterone, and we have testosterone, which has been sort of labeled as a male hormone, but we know that women need it. It's a vital part. But the interesting part of estrogen is that our skin has a lot of estrogen receptors, right? That it's responsible for keeping our skin dry and hydrated, not dry. And so when the estrogen is low and those receptors are not getting that estrogen that they need, that's when we start to see that dryness. And then dryness makes the skin thinner, right? And then that's when we start to see, people come in and say, I don't know why I have lines on my face. Why is my skin so thin? Or they'll smile and say they've got sort of accordion lines on their cheeks or what have you. And that's because, because again, that the changes that are happening. But you're right, there's so many things beyond that melasma, so lots of hormonal pigment that can come to be. We see this in pregnant ladies too, right? Where they'll get they call it the pregnancy mask, so to speak, but that's again a hormonal change where all of a sudden this dark pigment comes up. But we see that in perimenopause and menopause as well, where it sort of flares at its ugly little head. But the good news is that there's lots that we can do, which we'll get into shortly. But I was wondering if you could sort of dive into sort of how these hormonal changes affect specifically collagen production and elasticity.
So estrogen plays a crucial role in many things like collagen production. It helps boost fibroblast activity. So that decline will lead to thinner skin and deeper wrinkles. It also helps with hydration, barrier function, wound healing. So when we see that decline, that's when we start to notice you might not heal as fast, or you have an barrier.
Not retaining that moisture in the skin. That's where we see like the lack of plumpness in the skin.
Yeah. And that's a big one, because we talk a lot about treatments that help to boost collagen production and elastin production, and even use of certain products that do that. And this is really the key demographic. So again, ladies in their 40s and 50s and 60s that really benefit the most from these types of treatments. And again, it's because that lack of estrogen, right, as you identified, is responsible for the production of elastin and collagen, or the lack thereof, right? So that's a really key and important thing. It's not that, there is a rhyme and a reason behind the treatments and the products that are being recommended, because they do counteract that natural function that's declined. And you brought up an important thing that I wanted to chat a little bit more about, was suddenly the changes in how your face and your skin sort of absorb products and react to products. We know that women in perimenopause and menopause can oftentimes develop a bit more of a histamine intolerance, or a sudden change in reactions to products that they've used their whole life. We see this even with foods all the time. And so that is really a direct result, again, of the declining hormones, is that suddenly we become reactive to things that we have been, totally fine with for decades. And then all of a sudden we're no longer tolerating them well. So, that's a perfect opportunity to kind of say, okay, let's take a step back and let's test other products that may be less reactive or less sensitive to you, right? But that is actually very, very common. And I usually find that women and men as well who experience this, but they tend to find that they're so frustrated because they don't understand why this is happening, right? So it's actually a part of the process. Unfortunately, it's just not everybody experiences. It's a very rare, not rare, but less common.
Quote unquote good skin your entire life, and you start going through these hormonal changes, and you're starting to notice things that you didn't necessarily struggle with before, or melasma or those inflammatory conditions come up, and it can be take it like a huge hit on your confidence, because you've never had to deal with that before, and you don't know how to go about dealing with that.
For sure. For sure. And that confidence piece is important, because there's so many other changes to our bodies as well at the same time. Like, let's face it, our vaginas are getting dry. We're getting more weight gain in our like visceral fat area. It's harder to lose weight. Like, there's so much happening. And then the last thing we need is to start breaking out, with products that we've trusted and used our whole lives. And all of a sudden we've got acne and oily skin, and we never had this before, right? It's just not fair, really. Yeah. But yeah, so that said, I think this is a great time to chat about some key skincare ingredients that are beneficial for women in this particular demographic. So are you guys able to sort of touch upon which skincare ingredients you feel are most effective in combating some of this dryness that a lot of women experience?
Do you want to go?
Well, I'll say my favorite one.
Yeah.
Definitely hyaluronic acid.
Yeah.
That's my go-to. Hyaluronic acid can carry 1,000 times its weight in water, really, really hydrates the skin. What's the other one that you love?
Beta-glucan.
Beta-glucan, we love.
It's actually 20 times more hydrating than hyaluronic acid. So also really good.
Amazing.
And it's really good for inflammatory conditions as well, because it boosts the wound healing response. So that's why I like beta-glucan. It's fabulous.
Amazing.
On top of that, ceramides are going to be really good. Fatty acids, peptides are going to be fabulous. Glycerin is really good. It's very hydrating. Basically, you want to use products that are super hydrating and ones that are going to protect your skin barrier while also increasing the hydration at a deeper level. And then once we've focused on repairing the skin barrier, because a lot of times when we're in this new phase, we have a weakened skin barrier, our skin is more reactive. We want to make it stronger so that we're able to fight off environmental factors and triggers. Once we've strengthened that skin barrier up, we can start to add things like your retinol that is going to increase your cell turnover.
Yeah,
Amazing.
Yeah, vitamin C.
Niacinamide as well to help with that sensitivity, balance oil production.
Amazing. So if you could pick, now we carry a few skincare lines at Bonita, but if you could pick one product each that has great hydrating ingredients that you feel would be wonderful for this population, which one would you pick?
I would pick, okay, it's really hard to pick one, I will say.
Say that. Picking one?
Yeah. I would pick Growth Factor Serum by Zeo Skin Health. It is a fabulous product. Again, it has those growth factors in it, which is going to signal to your body, because that's something that we naturally produce, to increase collagen, elastin production without using a retinol. So it's really good for people that are a little bit scared to start retinol, and a good introduction to it. And it's so hydrating. It's fabulous.
Amazing. Maddie?
Very hard to choose one. Very, very difficult. I can never choose a favorite, but I would say Restorative Skin Complex from Elastin. Yeah, you like that?
Oh, you stole mine. That's not fair.
I love Restorative Complex. So it's fantastic if you're going through the extremely dries and dehydration, but also if you're on that oily spectrum and creating acne in this stage of your life, still fabulous for it, non-comedogenic. Stimulates collagen, stimulates elastin, it's hydrating, there's antioxidants in it.
Yeah.
It's powerhouse, baby.
And it
That's
has
beautiful.
Trihex, which we love. It is patented by Elastin, and basically the way that we explain it to people is weeding the garden. So it's going to get rid of all of that broken down collagen, elastin fibers that your body can no longer use, and encourage it to produce new ones that take up that spot of the broken down ones.
Yeah.
Amazing. And the Restorative Skin Complex I love too, because it's a 3 or 4-in-1 almost, which is great for people who want an easy routine. So you could arguably cleanse, use Restorative Skin Complex, put on your SPF in the morning and walk out the door. Or at nighttime, cleanse, restorative skin, and go to bed, right? So that makes it super easy. Since you took mine, Maddie, my favorite would be, my second favorite, I should say, is Ultimate Boost Serum from Illumier, which is a Canadian product. She's a beautiful product. We actually can hardly keep it on the shelf. We sell so much of it. Beautiful hyaluronic acid, lots of peptides, goodness inside of it that's going to help with things like inflammation, anti-aging, hydration, and the texture of it is like a serum meets cream, right? It's not a true serum, but it's not a cream. It's like this beautiful silky sort of sensation when you're putting it on. It's really lovely. And we find a lot of men tend to purchase this one too, because much like the Restorative Skin Complex, it's kind of a 2-in-1 or 3-in-1. So it does make things a little easier for somebody who doesn't want a full-blown skin routine. Speaking of, I used to be that person. Now I love my 7-step routine. It's like my favorite bedtime, thing. So, but, somebody who wants to keep it simple, it's a beautiful option.
Yeah.
And for our listeners today, actually at the end of the episode, I have a little special treat for all 3 of these products. So just stay tuned to that. So I know. On that note, we were chatting a little bit. You mentioned, Lex, really briefly about vitamin C and retinol, right? You guys were mentioning how it's important to kind of keep our barrier. There is a lot of conversations out there about why not really about why vitamin C's are important, but just people are told put vitamin C on. And I don't think a lot of people understand the value behind what vitamin C does for our skin and what sort of protection it provides. Can you briefly explain that?
Yeah, so vitamin C is really good because it's giving us antioxidant support. So I always say it's really good for topical use. You're still going to want to eat antioxidant rich foods, but essentially what it's doing is we have these things called free radicals, and naturally your body produces them. It just happens with normal bodily functions, but they can be exacerbated by things like pollution, smoking, drinking, and it kind of sets off a chain reaction because it's an unstable molecule that steals from your healthy ones. So when we see that happening, you're going to have accelerated inflammation and aging and skin laxity concerns. So when we introduce an antioxidant, it's actually donating to the unstable ones to kind of level them out so that we're stopping that chain reaction in its tracks. So it doesn't have to be a vitamin C. Vitamin C is the most popular. Everyone is going to be wanting to be on something that provides antioxidant support. But yeah, you have anything else to add?
That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We love vitamin
Yeah,
C.
I usually describe it as a shield, right? Like it's this
Yeah.
armor that's going to protect your skin from all the junk that's in the air that really just wants to stick to your face and cause or wreak havoc, right? So it's really protecting you from things like fine lines, wrinkles, thinning skin, and pigmentation. A lot of people don't realize that it's not just SPF to protect against sun, it's actually the antioxidants that also sort of bring up these nasty spots, sunspots, and sun damage as well. So yeah,
That's
I
why
love that.
I love the daily defense mist from PCA. So you put your sunscreen
Yes.
on, then you spray yourself with this daily defense mist, and it honestly, it's like a shield on the skin. Like it's great product.
It's beautiful. It's so lightweight. It's really lovely. But let's just chat about retinol for a second, because retinol has had a really bad rap. And I always tell people that the fountain of youth are 3 products. 1 is your SPF, for sure, non-negotiable. 2 is your retinol, and 3 is your vitamin C. And retinol has been forever, sort of labeled as a product that thins your skin. People are always worried, oh, I don't want to use that because it's going to thin my skin, when in fact, it does the exact opposite. So I don't know who these anti-retinol people are and their whole campaign of spreading rumors, but we've got to stop it because it's not right. We know that if you overuse your retinol, if you don't, you start a very slow and stepwise approach, then yes, it looks like it thins your skin because you will burn your skin, but it's actually not a burn per se. It's more of a retinol reaction that happens because it's a user error, not a product error, right? So can you tell us just really quickly what retinol does so that we can debunk these awful myths?
Yeah. Do you want to go ahead?
Sure. Depending on the retinol, there's all different delivery methods, but the main purpose of retinol is to increase cellular turnover and to shed those dead skin cells, stimulate your collagen and elastin, and actually thicken the skin. That's its main purpose. It does not thin the skin.
Yeah.
It increases that cell turnover, so you're shedding old cells.
Exactly.
And just to touch base on it, like when we talk about your cell turnover rate, typically from right when you're born to, let's say, right before 25, you're shedding typically every 28 days. And as you start to age, it slows down. So again, that's when we see premature aging, fine lines, wrinkles, texture, pore size, all the things. So introducing a retinol is going to help speed up that cell turnover.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I always tell people. It whips the skin cell cycle to say, make more cells faster. And by doing that, it's also getting rid of old cells. So it's a beautiful exfoliant, really easy to use. And there's a ton of retinols that are available. There's prescription retinols as well. I don't love them as much because the delivery system is kind of wonky and it's really harsh. So I find people typically have reactions to those versus a medical grade skincare that comes in a beautiful encapsulated delivery system, for example. It treats nicely, and the risk of that reaction is so much lower. Plus, you're getting expert recommendations on how to apply, not just thrown a prescription or a bottle and say, have fun with that. Let me know how it goes. So it's really a beautiful thing.
And there's so many
Okay.
different retinol combinations. Like we have ones that are specifically for pigmentation, ones that are for sensitive skin. So we have lower chance of anticipated reactions. We build your tolerance and then we can bump you up to something else. We have so many different options.
I also think working with an esthetician is really nice because we can give you pointers on how to reduce those anticipated reactions.
For sure. Agreed. Yeah. And we carry a bunch of different ones, even for our teen patients, we have really lovely, sensitive and mild retinols too that can help with acne. So the same goes for ladies and men in their midlife for sure. Okay. So we've chatted about sort of the pathology behind how our skin becomes thinner, why these sort of changes happen because of this decline in estrogen. We've talked about what skincare products we can use to help with the hydration, to help with protecting our skin against environmental pollution, how we can use retinol properly, all the things that are important in anti-aging and maintaining good skin health. But what are a few treatments, because we certainly don't have enough time to dive into all of them, but what are some treatments that women can do to help strengthen their skin and to boost collagen production as they head into this phase where they feel like their skin is not as thick as it used to be, a lot thinner, and they're noticing a lot more fine lines?
Yeah, I'm going to start with non-invasive, and then you can go into invasive. The non-invasive treatments that you can do, chemical peels, and why am I blanking? There was one. Chemical, and what's the other non-invasive? Radio frequency. Jeez Louise, my brain.
How could you forget that?
I don't know. So chemical peels and radio frequency treatments are both great non-invasive treatments to kind of start you out on. If you're new to like the aesthetic world and you just want to
dip your toes.
Yeah, go in slowly. Radio frequency is great. It heats up the water in your tissue, and by doing that, it stimulates collagen and elastin. Feels like a hot stone massage, very relaxing. Phenomenal treatment. And then chemical peels, definitely a great treatment to do. You can go from very, very light to very aggressive, stimulate that cell turnover, collagen, elastin, brightening. It's our umbrella treatment of the clinic. It kind of does a little bit of everything.
Then we
Amazing. And you can also do facials, right? To help hydrate.
We love facials.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Also have radio frequency microneedling. So we have regular microneedling and then we have RF microneedling. We have both options, but someone that is struggling with a little bit more skin laxity, crepiness, tech neck even, that's when I would recommend RF for sure. The nice thing about RF is, yes, it's a little bit pricier, but one of those treatments is equivalent to 7 pen treatments. So you're getting to your end result a little bit quicker. And what we're doing is we're creating a little micro injury. And then with the heat, that's additional injury. So your body is rushing to heal it. And that's when we see like more collagen, elastin, and tightening and toning of the area. Also adding on top of that Ultra, which is a fabulous laser treatment. You can do it by itself or combo it for the best results. And then obviously you can speak more to biostimulators and things like VAMP for collagen elastin production.
Yeah, absolutely. The Sculptra is essentially ground up dissolvable sutures. That's really how I describe it. But it's a powder form that we mix with water, and then we inject it just below the skin layer to stimulate that collagen production. So essentially, we're seeding the lawn. We're putting all these tiny little seeds in there that will stimulate production of collagen and elastin as well. So it's a beautiful product. I mean, it's not the same as dermal fillers. Dermal fillers, you see that hydration immediately and it's sustained. Whereas with Sculptra, you leave feeling really full and it feels great, but within a couple of days, that fullness kind of comes down. You have to come in again about a month to 6 weeks later for a second treatment, usually about 3 to 4 treatments. And then after that, your maintenance is every two years, actually. It's amazing. And you see that slow and steady production of collagen that happens, which helps with volume depletion, but also skin integrity. So all my gals that do Sculptra Sculptra. It's incredible how their skin is so much stronger. It doesn't have that thinness when you're sort of squeezing the cheek skin. You know, you see that beautiful turgor or that hydration that they have, despite the fact that their skin routine hasn't changed, or their skincare routine, I should say. And it's that deep penetration of that elastin and collagen that's been formed that basically heals the skin. So it's really like turning back time, which is really fabulous. So it's a treatment that's been around for a long, long time. The product is made by Galderma. And it's wonderful. There's also other treatments like Radiesse that are quite similar in terms of we're injecting a product that stimulates collagen and elastin. So again, not a filler. So that's also another injectable that's available. You can also have topical products. Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, the before and afters of RF microneedling are great, but Sculptra and Radiesse, like, they're jaw-dropping. They are so good, and you don't notice it right away. But when you compare your pictures and combine doing a treatment of RF with your Sculptra, it is phenomenal.
For sure. And again, although it takes time with the Sculptra, you definitely see it over time. Combining it with the microneedling, you get that sort of topical effect almost immediately, which is nice. So it helps with that texture and tone as well. Whereas the Sculptra doesn't help with tone, but helps with texture long term. Right. So we are a huge fan. Our clinic is a big fan of stacking treatments, blending energy, and blending treatments overall, because we know that when we sort of attack or tackle a particular skin concern with a variety of modalities, the outcomes are so much better. And also it's safer that way, right? There's no sense of maximizing one particular treatment when we know that combining them, you know, with different things you'll have a better outcome long term. So we're big on skin health, big on, you know, ensuring that everyone is on a customized plan, because every plan is different, right? So yeah, we're really, really big on skincare. That's the one thing that I always say to everybody. It's like, if you are investing in these treatments, you have to be on good skincare. Otherwise, you're just flushing your money down the toilet. So we won't participate in that. So we're really, again, we encourage at a minimum, everyone needs to be washing their face twice a day and using, you know, a sunscreen to protect. And then if you're coming in for pigment treatments, you need to be on a pigment blocker for sure. So unfortunately, we don't have hours today to discuss all of that, because it's, you know, we can really nerd out. I love chatting with my team, with you guys, about all this stuff because we're so passionate about it. But again, always a consultation is available with any one of us. The last thing I really wanted to chat about before we wrap up is that in addition to perimenopause and menopause, there are a lot of women who have PCOS and don't know it. And they present in this phase of life with a sudden onset of oily skin, acne, facial hair that's growing that they don't know where this came from. And we see a ton of that, don't we? Yeah, like a lot of women that come in with that. And so it's really important that when you're experiencing these types of symptoms, that you seek care from your provider and your esthetician, because truly you likely have PCOS and not diagnosed. So a lot of times we have women that come in with new onset acne as adults, and really the underlying diagnosis is polycystic ovarian syndrome. So the treatment is very different. And so it's good to be under the care of providers that understand that and then can treat your hormones accordingly. And that doesn't mean with hormone replacement itself. There's a ton of other treatments that are available to support that. But usually how that presents is a sudden onset of oily skin, acne, and also then you've got the aging that's happening. So the thinning of the skin, but some areas are dry, right? So you've got combination skin. It's quite an array, but we have become quite the little expert clinic, haven't we, in terms of seeing these women and helping them. And there's also prescription medications that we can prescribe as well to help kind of ease some of that burden, at least for immediate impact, until we can get hormones optimized to help. But in particular, Lex, I know you're really passionate about PCOS. Do you have any advice for ladies out there who are struggling with their skin in this phase and also have PCOS?
I would just really recommend, like you said, working with a health professional that understands. When I was first diagnosed, I wasn't getting a period regularly, and basically the only help that they recommended to me was to go on birth control, and that was basically it. And I know that that is just a Band-Aid fix, and that wasn't the route that I wanted to go. And so not only was I dealing with, insulin resistance, I was really struggling with losing weight. And when I gained weight, I gained a lot. I had a lot of chronic inflammation. So I was having an inflammatory condition, which I ended up getting melasma. I don't have any kids, but I do suffer from that. I had my hormonal breakouts and all of the things. And I think it's just really important to slow down a little bit. I feel like your body is in that fight or flight mode, PCOS and chronic inflammation. So working with a professional, zinc supplements always help with inflammatory conditions because it helps with inflammation in the body. And when we see things happening on the surface of the skin, that's a result of disharmony internally. So your acne and stuff like that. And you can be on the best products, getting the best treatments. And if you're not treating the root cause, you will still continue to break out. So it really is working with a whole team that is able to balance it and really help manage it, because that's what we're doing. We're not getting rid of it, but we are able to manage it. So you're still able to enjoy life and get that confidence back.
That's why I think it's so fantastic that like we all work together, because when we see something, it is so nice to be able to come to you, Jess, and be like, this is what I see. This is how it's presenting. Let's make a game plan. And
bounce ideas off of each other. It's nice to have not just a one style approach and get that kind of general treatment plan from multiple people that understand what you're going through.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I'll look at pigment and say, like, I think that looks like melasma. And it's always nice to get a second set of eyes on there to say, yeah, I agree, or no, I think A, B, and C, right? But with PCOS in particular, what's different about this is that there is more testosterone floating around the bloodstream. Doesn't mean that your body's making too much testosterone. It just means it's not going where it needs to go. And that's what causes that oily skin, the acne, and the hair growth. And so it also is a metabolic condition too when it comes to insulin sensitivity. So again, I'm not going to get into all the details of that because that's like 4 episodes on its own. But the reality is that if you have providers that aren't understanding of the particular condition, you're not going to really get anywhere. So advocate for yourself, make sure that you are really understanding that, if you're trying certain treatments and things are not changing, then that's not the right treatment. You should be seeing some form of change over the course of 4, 8, 12 weeks. There should be some improvement. It's never overnight, just like getting rid of thinning skin and wrinkles is never overnight. Botox certainly expedites the outcomes, but the reality is that it takes time. So so really, really fascinating how hormone changes really do manifest in our skin in all kinds of ways, and so much more compounded when we are in that midlife phase of living, right, of our lives. So many things that we can do, right? Like, this is not a lost cause. We don't need to be sad about this. It's actually exciting. There's so many treatments, so many things that we can do to stimulate our collagen, refill up that collagen tank, so to speak, and feel better than ever. So I am going to be one of these people who I'm going to, die hopefully at 105, and I'm going to look like I was, 60, just living my best life. So yeah, right? All the things. I'll keep my curtain bangs because apparently they take 20 years off. So, we're going to keep doing all the things. Potenza, Ultra, my skincare routine, and we're just going to keep at her because, right? Well, I thank you ladies so much for coming onto the podcast today and chatting about all things hormones and sharing your expertise. I encourage anyone who's listening who's struggling with their skin and is local to us in St. Jacobs to come and visit us, because these gals will save your life. And if you guys have any questions, of course, you can always reach out directly. But for our listeners today, we are going to have a little promotion on our Zeo Skin Health Growth Factor Serum, our Elastin Restorative Skin Complex, and our Illumier Ultimate Boost. And actually, just because Maddie mentioned it, I'm also going to do a little promo on our PCA Defense Mist, which has actually sadly been discontinued. So the stock that we have is all that we will ever have. Yeah, Maddie had a bad day when I told her about that.
I had a very
If you scroll down to the show notes, you're going to see some promo codes that you can access online to purchase. The Illumier is not available online with the discount, so you'll just have to reach out to us directly and we can make arrangements for you to come and pick it up in store. But they're going to be a pretty lovely discount, so you don't want to miss out on that. So check out the show notes, listen to the episode, and you will be eligible for this discount. So thank you again. And this has been an amazing first season of the Hot Flash Diaries. It's been more than I ever imagined it would be. And I'm excited. All the support and all the lovely comments that everybody has left and has mentioned about how this has helped them in so many ways has been really rewarding and has truly filled my cup. And it makes me excited about season 2, I should say, that's going to start in probably the fall, September-ish, give or take. And we'll have, we'll have a ton of cool people on. Gosh, stop it immediately. But lots of new faces coming onto the podcast. We're going to chat about a lot of complex issues and how to support our gals. And I'm just really excited for all the things. So I wish everyone a beautiful spring and summer, and we'll see you again in the fall. Thank you, Maddie and Lex. I appreciate you more than you know. Love you both dearly, and have the best day. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having us. Have the best day.